Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard, Claret Sword Dragon, Shadow Paladin deck profile for standard format March 2020. This is the latest release for Shadow Paladin support in the new Team Dragon's Vanity booster pack. It's a really interesting deck. The Claret Sword Dragon Grade 3 focuses on using a bunch of different Grade 1s in your drop zone to restand this card for overall pressure. It's the main focus of the Grade 3 lineup in the deck, focusing on the draw power and just the overall consistency to retire Grade 1 rear guards so you can build up the amount of them you have in your drop zone with all the new different support we received for the deck. It's also the deck used by Kanzaki in the new Shinamon arc of Cardfight Vanguard. Been an awesome character. I think he's been one of my favorites this time around, just like in the original G series, but it's a really fun deck. I am missing some cards for it, so I'm basically just going to be showing what cards I will replace for the ones I have in the deck. I don't really think I'll be finishing the Claret Sword deck. It's why I wasn't going to wait to pick up any of the more of the cards for the deck for the deck profile, but still wanted to get the deck profile out to you all. And also just probably going to be focusing more on the support for Blaster Dark we got in the set, because it definitely does look like a lot of fun also. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the Grade 3s, the only Grade 3 that you really want to run in this deck, because otherwise it kind of clogs up all your other lineup, is for Claret Sword Dragon. I have the one so far. I just have the Danger Lunge Dragon in here as a replacement for now, but it'd be the only Grade 3 you want to run with it. It's your Grade 3 Imaginary Gift Force. When placed, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, put any number of Grade 1 cards from among them into your drop zone, and shuffle your deck. This unit gets plus 10,000 until end of turn for each card put into the drop zone. So just being able to mill off the Grade 1 cards for this card's ability definitely does help for the setup, giving you the more power plays as well, so you can either focus on Imaginary Gift Force 2 or Imaginary Gift Force 1 on the other rear guard circles, with this card being able to build up that power. And also on Vanguard Circle, it has a once per turn at the end of battle, it attacked, counter +1, and bind 7 Grade 1 cards from your drop zone to stand this unit, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn. So the 7 Grade 1s from the drop zone is your go-to stand card, and with the amount of Grade 1s we are running, it is a once per turn effect, but just so the amount we have is raised up in the deck, there are ways you can at least have it go off multiple times in the deck consistently. Even if you end up with some cards in your hand or on the field or in the damage zone, you should still be able to hopefully successfully, if the game goes on long enough and you need that pressure to do it, attack with this card twice. But once again, it only has Vanguard effects, but it also is just going to be your main focus on the Vanguard circle. You don't really want this card to ever be on the rear guard circle, because then you're just wasting on the potential to ride another Claret Sword and then get your additional Imaginary Gift Force marker. And that is it for the Grade 3s. Like I said, the Claret Sword is the only Grade 3 you really want to run in the deck. For the Grade 2 backup, I'm running 4 Morion Spear Dragon. On Vanguard or rear, once per turn, you can Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from your hand to draw a card, and this unit gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. If you discard a Grade 1, it gets plus 10 instead of plus 5. So this is just more of the Grade 1 setup, because you also discard a card, making up for it. It doesn't eat up any of your counter blasts, which is also a benefit with the card, and being able to work on Vanguard or rear makes it a viable ride target for the deck, just for that power play you can do. And most of the time I end up always discard a Grade 1 for that plus 10 power, so now I'm attacking my opponent for 20,000 power if I ride this card as my Grade 1 ride target for immense pressure. I mean, my opponent has to put down a heal trigger to hopefully block the attack successfully. Even then, depending on what their Vanguard's grade is, it could be a just 1 to pass, or just let the attack hit and hopefully hit the critical trigger to go up against them. And I am also running 4 Witch of Iron Chain's Nests on rearguard when placed. Soul Blast 1 and retire Grade 1 rearguard. Your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards and retires it, and you cannot intercept until end of turn. So what's great is it has the retire effect, so you have the option to place your Grade 1s in the drop zone, setting up more for them there as well, since we do have a lot of Grade 1s that help to set up the field swarming aspect of the deck as well. But also with Witch of Iron Chain's Nest intercept restriction, it just just means overall, early game pressure when you're using cards like Morian Spear. If your opponent has their grade 2 lineup on the field and they just want to use one of the cards to intercept, being able to set up the Iron Chain Nest on the field with Morian Spear and then being able to attack this card for pressure, making sure also that your opponent can't intercept, goes for the main initial pressure play like I spoke of that you can do with the deck. It's definitely a scary play and one you want to rely on a lot in the deck for that pressure, and that's why I like to run 4 of the Witch of Iron Chain's Nest for that overall pressure. She is a 10k, which is also very, very useful. I know sometimes with these restriction plays, it goes with a lower power scale, but just like Morian Spear, it even makes for a viable ride target if need be with some of your other cards in the deck. But once again, also not taking up the counterblasts for the deck is definitely useful also, since you want to save those for your big boss monster being Claret Sword Dragon. And to finish off the grade 2s, I want to run 3 Dark Pride Dragon. I have the replacement being Knight of Ferocity, Macmorna, which Macmorna, I believe is how you pronounce it. When it would attack, this unit cannot attack unless you retire one of your other rear guards, so it helps for more of the grade 1 setup. If your drop zone has 3 or more grade 1s on rear, this unit gets plus 15,000 power. So the power boost definitely does help as an overall option, but I'd say the superior card to run is Dark Pride Dragon. On Vanguard or rear when placed, this unit gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. You may put 3 cards on top of your deck into the drop zone. If a grade 1 was put, counterblast 1 and draw a card. So overall, it's also kind of risky depending on the mill. Like if you're still going to try and get your grade 3 for your search, which we do have some grade 1s to help search that out as well, your Dark Pride Dragon can definitely either mill off the cards, then, obviously one less Claret Sword to use. It's the risk you take for the draw power. You might even have the Claret Swords already set up in your hand to use, but it's a Vanguard or rear guard effect, making for another ride target in the plus 5 power. And then the put 3 into the top of your deck into the drop zone is a you may effect, so it doesn't mean you have to use it, but still a good viable ride target when you either want to go for it or Morian Spear Dragon also. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. Probably one of the best grade 1s in the deck. It's also extremely pricey right now, but it's Cherishing Knight Bronwyn. On Vanguard or rear during your turn, if your drop zone has 3 or more grade 1s, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. It's an 8k on its own, making it a 13k booster when it has the amount of grade 1s in the drop zone. So even after the first attack, if it boosts Claret Sword, because then afterward you might potentially have less than the 3 grade 1s in your drop zone to use. So Bronwyn helps for that power boost that it can get. And on Vanguard or rear, when placed, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck, and if you put a card, discard a card from your hand. So it's not a guaranteed search for your Claret Sword Dragon, but still does help for the overall search to check the top cards of your deck and potentially get one. Since we are only running a 4 card count for the grade 3s, it's definitely risky because you want to make sure you open up with one of your grade 3s, which you always have the shuffle back to hopefully go into that card. But using Cherishing Knight Bronwyn for that setup definitely does help. If it was a discard, search, I'd say it'd be a lot more consistent for the deck. But then also if it was a discard 3, like the old Stride Fodder cards used to be in premium, we'd have to rely more on that play also, and then run more grade 3s, which would set off the whole grade 1 count we run in the deck anyway. And I also run 4 Black Wing Swordbreaker on rear guard when placed. Counterblast 1, draw a card, and this unit was placed from hand. This unit gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. So it's just a counterblast 1, draw a card. We really don't use our counterblasts for anything I've mentioned up until this point, aside from Claret Sword Dragon. So running the 4 Blackwing Swordbreaker for its draw power, and most of the time you're just going to call it from hand anyway. Yes, it does have the 5k power, but you have so many other retire effects in the deck that most of the time this card's going to end up in the drop zone. Then you can just call out more Blackwing Swordbreaker for more draw 1 consistency, and then just go from there for your plays. Most of the time, you want your ride target to be the Cherishing Knight Bronwyn. You don't want it to be the Swordbreaker because it doesn't have a Vanguard effect, and it also has 5,000 power, so definitely a big target for your opponent also. And I also run 4 Skull Witch Nemain, being another great setup for your grade 1s. Early game, if you can get this card out of the way and then use cards like Bronwyn, so you don't end up revealing Skull Witch Nemain, it's just one less card to go for. On rear, rest this unit, search your deck for up to 1 plus 5,000 power card, call it to an open rear guard, shuffle your deck. This ability you may only use once by a card with the same name once a turn. So you can even search out another Nemain, but you can't use that Nemain's effect for the rest search also. But you can also search out Swordbreaker. It's the draw card but when it's placed from the hand, doesn't get the +5, but still using the main to call this out gives you the additional draw and also gives you the additional draw power from that other card on the field, being the only other card that uses your counterblast, but still very, very useful for the overall lineup. The total number of grade 1s that I run in the deck is pretty high for the overall count, but still I would say very, very strong for just the amount we want to run in the deck for the consistency of searching out other cards. And then I also run 4 Knight of Machinations, Abgade, or I believe it's Abagdo, on Vanguard or rear. When it attacks or boosts, retire one of your grade 1 rear guards in another column, and this unit gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. So with this one, you just have the strength for your cards to rely on more pressure plays. With this one, when it attacks or boosts, retire one of your grade 1 rear guards in another column, and this unit gets plus 5,000 power until end of that battle. So just the retire effect helps to set up for the pressure plays you can do with your cards. Relying on Abgado for that definitely does come in handy, and also just wanting to rely on it for the setup. But the plus power with this one on Vanguard or rear means you can early game as well attack against your opponent. I have 4 of this. If you wanted to mix around any of the other numbers, it'd probably be for the final grade 1 spot, which is the 2 blue Espada Dragon on Vanguard or rear. When placed, look at 3 cards on the top of your deck, reveal up to any Claret Sword or Morian Spear Dragon from among them, put into your hand, put the rest into your drop zone. If your drop zone has 5 more grade 1s, this unit gets plus 10,000. So it's your searcher, so I would definitely recommend taking out 2 of the Abgado and putting in 4 count, since it's just your searcher to rely on. I only had the 1, but like I said, it definitely does come in handy overall when you're trying to search out early game, relying on this Bronwyn, and then just more and more draw power with cards like Morian Spear, especially if you reveal Morian Spear, and the fact that it has other search options also. And that is it for the grade 1s. We'll now move on to the grade 0. For your starter, I decided to go with Promising Knight David, since it is the starter that Kanzaki used in the anime, just being the, when wrote upon draw card. They will also be eradicating these soon for the shield effect, but until then, just the when wrote upon draw effect. And then for the trigger lineup, I decided to go with the 8 criticals, so 4 Grim Revenger and 4 Darkside Trumpeter. And then for the draw trigger, the 4 of the Dark Shield Maclear Sentinel. Just, we have plenty of grade 1 support. I didn't really want to run the grade 1 and then go for more 12 crit pressure. And also the 4 Abyss Healer to finish off the trigger lineup and the deck as a whole. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Definitely going to be working on Last Card Revan and Dragonic Vanquisher as well, so look forward to those. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.